You ever have those times when you're about to do a video, God drops some things in your spirit, and then he starts downloading a whole bunch of stuff, and you have all of this stuff that is coming all at one time that you really don't know which way God wants you to go. So you just turn the camera on and just start talking. That's what I'm about to do right now, because God's been downloading so much stuff. I don't know how long this video is going to be, but I am going to try to cut it and make it as short as possible. But God has been dealing with me about Goliath and about dealing with the giants that are in our lives. And with dealing with the giants that are in our lives, there are people who look at you and underestimate you. And they underestimate you because they're still looking at the flesh, or they are looking at your limitations. They are looking at the things that they have that you don't have. And because they've been doing this for so long, and things of that nature, that they think that you are not qualified, or you don't have the skills, or you don't do what they do. So because you don't do what they do, then you can't be as effective as they are in doing what it is that they do. And they see you as a ruddy little kid. You can be a full grown, in your 50s, 60s, just coming out from the backside of the desert. Somebody God is calling out now, but they don't see your worth. They underestimate you, undervalue you, think that you don't have anything to offer, even though God is saying to you, I'm calling you forward. I'm calling you out of hiding. I'm calling you from the backside of the desert. See, the problem with people who underestimate you, they think that you have to look a certain way, dress a certain way, act a certain way, quicken a certain way, and things of that nature. And I'm not making light of the things of God, but religious people will make you feel like God ain't called you because you're not doing what they're used to you doing, not understanding and not respecting the fact that God is doing a new thing. And a lot of them are missing what God is doing because they're still trying to do the old thing instead of stepping into the new thing and flowing in the new thing when God is doing a new thing and using new wine to do the new thing. So there are people who look at you and they don't see anything other than you. There are people who know you from your past, and they can't get past your past. They're not gonna get past your past. They don't want to get past your past because they want to see you as who you've always been. They don't want to see you cleaned up. They don't want to see you washed up. They don't want to see you changed. They don't want to believe that God put a word in your mouth. They don't want to believe that God could ever use you because you were always going to be who you've always been, and there's nothing more to that. But do you not know that when people underestimate you and they look down on you and they think you don't have nothing, you had better remember the backside of the desert. You had better remember when you was on that field, back in the fields, fighting all different types of monsters and giants and bears and tigers and wolves and everything else that was attacking the sheep when nobody was looking. And now God is bringing you to the front, and you're letting people tell you what you can and cannot do, because the battle that's going on, you must be properly prepared for the battle. You don't have on battle gear. You're not trained for this. You haven't gone through what we've gone through to prepare for this. You are not the soldier. You are still a cadet. You are freshly coming out of, the backside of the desert. And you don't have any power. You don't have any training. You don't have any this. You don't have any that. But you better hear God saying to you, you've been through enough hell that you conquered and overcame any enemy that was thrown at you on the backside of the desert. I'm sending you to slay this giant that they playing with, that they standing here on guard in fear and wondering how this is going to happen, but won't recognize you and underestimating you when you the one with the power, with the experience, to deal with this type of demon that is showing its face. And you are bold and confident because you know in the fields you have backing from God. So you know you still have the backing that is needed for you to slay this giant, because you recognize through your training that it has never been you, but it's always been God. And God showed up and did miraculous things that only he could have given you the strength and the power to do and to make it through. And because these people are suited up on this battlefield and looking at this giant and don't know how to defeat the giant, but looking at you and criticizing you and talking about you and down talking you and downgrading you and downing you and doing all these down things to you, you forget who you are. Instead of standing your ground and knowing that you got the power with your bold, confident self. You learn not to be reckless on the backside of the desert. You learn the things to say and to not to say. So you keep your mouth shut and let them think what they want to think. But then you look at that giant and you remind everybody around you, who is this uncircumcised demon from the west side of hell? And let them know you are not afraid. And while they're underestimating you, you're asking, what's the reward? And God is saying to you, your reward is, it's your season. It's time to step forward. It's time to take your rightful position. It's time for you to get prepared to take on the new position as the king or queen that you were called to be once you slay this demon, and not being caught up in people pleasing and what these people are going to say and what they are saying about you. But remembering on the backside of the desert, all the lions and tigers and bears and things that you had to fight to, make it to where you are, and the backing that you had when you were back there, and not forgetting how when it was you and God, you promised God that when you came up out of this, it was always going to be you and God. All the songs you sung, all the prayers you prayed, all the worship you had in the fields with the sheep can't testify for you. The sheep don't remember the song. The sheep are dumb sheep. The sheep really don't have anything to say on your behalf. But God has a lot to say on your behalf, because God was with you the whole time when nobody else was. So when they try to suit you up in their armor and look at you and tell you, you coming from the backside of the desert, and even if I do recognize you, let me put you in my armor. And there's people who will put you in their armor. You got to do this. You got to do that. Oh, you're a prophet? Oh, you're prophetic? This is what you got to do. Prove to me that you're a prophet. You're a prophet. I need to hear you prophesy. I need to hear you speak in tongues. I need to know if your tongues are real. I need to know, X, Y, and Z. I need for you to line up with what we're doing and look like the rest of us. Put on the armor that we have and show up the way that we're showing up, and get in line to do what we're standing here fearful to do. You got to wait your turn. You got to pay your dues. You got to do all of these things. Jump through hoops, leap over walls, and things of that nature for people to approve you. When God said to you, I called you from the backside of the desert. Don't get caught up in people and them underestimating you and not seeing your value and not seeing your worth. When it was me and you, I put some things in you that they don't understand and that they don't know. So when they are underestimating you, you make sure you remember where you came from. You make sure you remember your assignment. You make sure you remember that it was you and God. You make sure that you remember that you still have heaven's backing, that God is backing you. The kingdom is always backing you, because you are in divine alignment and you're called to the kingdom to slay this giant that is standing before the people, that they're afraid to stand up to, that they're afraid to conquer. But you have the tools to do it. And you can't do it in somebody else's armor. You can't do it looking like everybody else. You have to be comfortable in what it is that you wear and with your weapons and with the things that God gave to you. Because the old wineskins don't comprehend and understand and can't see the strange thing and the strange way, the peculiar way. Let me put it like that. The peculiar way that God has wired you and equipped you and preparing you, and they cannot see how you going to use that to do this. But you know that it works because you've already done it in the backside of the desert when nobody else was looking, and it was just you and God and you and the sheep, you and the insects and the stars and the moon and the things that were in the air while you were whipping, conquering, and getting the victory when nobody else noticed or nobody else could see. You already knew that you had everything that you needed, so that when God brings you out of the field, you just have to remember what it is that you had. Then is what is going to give you victory with this big beast of a giant that is uncircumcised and not in the covenant and has no power and no authority over you, who has no legal right to be here, and they won't conquer it. But you know you got the power to do it. You listen to the prophets and the people who are telling you what you can't do. But God is telling you, I have called you for such a time as this. I have prepared you for such a time as this. They underestimate you. They never see you coming. They don't know that you're a weapon of mass destruction, because greater is he who is in you than he who is in the world. And it's not according to the old way, but it's the way that God is doing it. Because there's new systems. There's new demonic giants. There's new warfare. And you can't fight new demons with old weapons. You can't fight new systems the old way when they're upgraded, and the only thing that is going to come up against them and stand against them is the upgrade of the new wine and the new thing that God is doing. And because you are prophetic and the prophet or prophet, you're able to see what others can't comprehend to take this joker down. And it looks like nothing. It looks like what you have in your hand can't compare to what somebody else has. But you are not there to compare. Let them compare. Let them compete. You are not there for that. You are there on assignment to hear the Father's voice and to know that if he backed you in, you can't miss. When you aim at your target, no matter how far off you may be, once you sling that rock in the air, it's going to hit its target because it has divine backing, and it has to hit the mark and knock that joker out. But you have to remember, they underestimate you. They don't see you coming. They don't value you. But it don't matter what they don't do. You be about the Father's business. You be on assignment. You remember the backside of the desert. You remember all the tears you cried. You remember all the pain you went through. You remember all the times you suffered in lack. You remember all the rejection that you've already endured. So it doesn't matter about what any of these people say or think about you. You have already been here. You already know what it's like to be alone and have to do warfare alone. You can't wear what they're wearing. You can't be a part of coming together and in sync with what they are doing, looking like, dressing like, acting like, conforming to the army fatigue that they are wearing, when you should have on what you've already and always had on, your battle gear, knowing that they may underestimate you, but you don't underestimate yourself. You know your work. You know who's in you. You know who backs you. So they may underestimate you, but you are the one with the rock and the slingshot. You are the one with the power to knock that joker out. You are the one to bring victory. You are the one who has the solution to the problem, the answer to the prayer. While they're mocking you, let them do what they do. You should be used to it. When you're prophetic, you've heard it all, you've seen it all, you've experienced it all, from everybody, from family, the closest people to you. So if the closest people to you, your family, couldn't stop you, block you, hinder you, halt you, delay you, do anything to you, how you gonna let strangers who think that what they're doing can stop you from doing what God has told you to do? Because they underestimate you, because they see you small. You got to see and know the giant in you, standing up in you, that it's not about you. There's a greater giant in you who says, greater works shall you do. They're still trying to do the work on the level of the old, but you were flowing with God in the greater works, and that flow is giving you favor and heaven's backing. The one they underestimate is the one who has the power and the authority to cut the head off of the enemy. They underestimate you, baby. Don't underestimate yourself. This is Let's Talk Kingdom. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Have a blessed and prosperous day on purpose.